The Holler Kings, where the horror's southern fried.
Hello, we've returned.
We're back.
The Holler Kings.
The motherfucking Holler King.
It's true. I'm your co-host, Craig.
And I'm your other co-host, Adam.
This is what happens when I forget how we intro and I just riff. But, you know, it still kind of worked. I liked it.
It was good.
By the way, that is yours. I'm going to go ahead and promote myself.
This?
No, I set a copy
this?
of Whispers in the Walls, Part 2. And I have a short story in this, Adam.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so this is for you. You have a pristine copy. It's a very short volume of short stories written by Southern authors. And the theme is cryptids. So think of Sasquatch, Mothman, Jersey Devil, that sort of thing, but they're kind of Dixie Fried interpretations.
Oh, nice.
My story is so
amazing.
Scuzzy.
Scuzzy?
Yes, it's very much in the vein of HBO Tales from the Crypt. So it has sex, it has
I'm titillated
some gore,
already.
some body horror type stuff, and a really bad sense of humor. So I actually used a pen name. So anyone that listens to this...
I was going to say, I just went through. I didn't see you.
I have the last story in Whispers in the Walls. It's by my pen name, Esco Allen.
Ooh.
Tell them what the title of the story is, Adam.
The title of Esco Allen story is Pecker Problem.
Yes. So you might imagine that there are some adult themes.
Oh, I love it.
But if you're into HBO Tales from the Crypt, please pick up a copy. It is available on Amazon. And our good friends at the Tennessee Horror News and the Horror Basement podcast are the publishers of this small volume. This is a very, very, very thin volume. It's like 70-ish pages. So it's like a one sitting, have fun. Yeah, have a cup of coffee or a glass of bourbon and just kind of enjoy some Southern horror.
So it should take my literate ass like maybe a week.
No, I'm in the same boat. This would probably take me 2 or 3 sittings.
Yeah.
But, there's only, I think, 4 stories in it.
4 of them.
So you could really just kind of like knock one out at a time, have some fun with it. Mine is very, very, very brief, but packs a sleaze with your cheese kind of punch.
That's my favorite.
Whispers in the Walls 2. Check it out. Adam, what's the movie we're going to discuss today?
We will be discussing the 2000 smash hit, The Gift.
Ooh.
I could read for you.
Discover the movie critics are calling a 4-star edge-of-your-seat thriller that delivers jolt after jolt.
I'm glad that girl's dead.
Academy Award nominee Cate Blanchett, Giovanni Ribisi, Keanu Reeves, Katie Holmes, with Academy Award nominee Greg Kinnear and Academy Award winner Hilary Swank.
I got a warning somebody's gonna try and kill me.
The Gift, rated R, from director Sam Raimi. Starts Friday, January 19th.
It's true. This is one I brought to the table because I vaguely remember seeing it in the theater.
Oh, you saw it in the theater?
Yes.
Nice.
And forgot it promptly. This was kind of a weird era for Sam Raimi. This is when he kind of went a little more mainstream, was working within the studio system and had a big cast of established actors. I feel like he did, after Army of Darkness, it was like Quick and the Dead.
Simple Plan.
Which is a friggin' great movie.
Yeah,
and great screenwriting. And then The Gift.
Yeah. And then he went into Spider-Man territory.
Spider-Man turf, and then he's kind of been off the reservation since in a lot of ways, I feel like.
Except for, I guess, Drag Me to Hell and the Ash vs. Evil Dead series.
Yeah.
But
that pilot episode of that, helmed by Raimi, is just, it's straight up an Evil Dead movie. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
the
glorious.
series, it has its own little, set of issues, but that pilot, I mean, it really was effectively the fourth Evil Dead movie. It was beautiful. But yeah, and then he came back for a Marvel movie of all things, doing some Doctor Strange. And it was really weird seeing him kind of held back by, kind of an in-house style. I feel like, there were some flares of Raimi-isms. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh, man, you should check it out. Is
it on Disney Plus?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll check it out.
It's definitely worth checking out. It's just kind of disappointing that they managed to get someone as cool as Sam Raimi to come back and do a superhero movie, and they didn't just cut him loose. It kind of it made me realize why sometimes these kind of more auteur filmmakers pass on Marvel projects, like Edgar Wright, for instance.
Yeah.
Because it really did feel like he was being restrained a little bit.
It's almost, those movies are almost centered like a TV show in that the directors are kind of just for hire, and it's really the showrunner, which I guess would be Feige, that kind of runs the show. So it's kind of his baby and his vision, and then the directors come in and just kind of get things done, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors that so much of it is done by the effects people anyway. Like there's entire sequences that more or less the director didn't even touch because they're animated, essentially.
Right.
So I mean, in fairness to the directors, it's probably pretty tough to put your seal on it unless it's a very specific lane, like what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy, or Ryan Coogler with Black Panther. It's kind of like they got to kind of inject themselves into it a little bit more than the usual standard issue Marvel thing. But it seems to be harder and harder to do as time goes on.
I was going to say, because like with Guardians, at least it seemed like it was a little bit earlier in that kind of gestation of what it has become, that he was probably had a little bit more leeway than he does now. Everything, I feel like it's pretty strict right now at this point, except for maybe the TV shows. I feel like you might be able to get away with a little bit more on that, but the movies specifically is it's all kind of laid. I mean, hell, they go, like 10 years of, having movies set, planned out already.
Right.
So.
Circling back around to The Gift in 2000, I was very excited to see. I was fascinated with Sam Raimi's mainstream studio period. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really interesting that he was getting to work with all these big actors. Quick and the Dead, I thought was friggin' really fun and like a new take on Westerns. And I love seeing Gene Hackman getting to chew some scenery. And
it's a hell of a cast.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. And this was kind of like, I feel like Sam Raimi was kind of stepping into a very mainstream lane with, A Simple Plan in this movie. And then I think didn't he do For Love of the Game also, that Kevin Costner? I
believe so, yeah.
Which is just a straight up drama about a baseball pitcher, just a very straight-laced, straightforward film. And it was really interesting just to see Raimi attempt those things and kind of get outside of his comfort zone. What's your experience with this one? Because you would have been pretty young when this dropped.
It came out in 2000.
Yeah.
So I'm bad at math, but yeah, I was in high school.
Right.
So yeah, no, I just remember it was one of those things I just happened to catch, on DVD when it came out.
Yeah.
And watching it. That was my only real experience. I don't think I've seen it since, but. I mean, I remember really enjoying it. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I hadn't really touched a lot of Raimi stuff at that point. I'd seen like the Evil Dead movies, but that was about it. Mm-hmm. So going into this, I didn't know too much on him. I don't even know if I knew he directed it when I first saw it.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was like a surprise.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of went in blind with it, so.
Well, we've lavished a lot of attention on Sam Raimi, but this is also co-written by Billy Bob Thornton, which is extremely important to our angle of this podcast, because he's from Arkansas and is very Southern. He's literally named Billy Bob. So, and I think Billy Bob Thornton, just for the record, is an absolute genius. I think the stuff that he has written. I mean, Sling Blade to me is the quintessential Southern movie. I think it's so beautiful, and it's something I revisit all the time, and it's so authentic, and it's kind of weirdly become underseen. I feel like it's not.
I feel like it's forgotten at this point.
Yeah.
To be as huge as it was, I don't hear anybody mention that movie anymore.
I mean, it was like literally an award season. It's like a little indie movie that blew up, and it got to showcase not just Billy Bob Thornton, but guys like John Ritter. Taking
a turn from the comedic stuff. And,
I mean,
and.
I was
going to say maybe, I don't know if Dwight Yoakam had done anything before, but I mean, this was he pretty much got into a lot of acting after this.
Oh, yeah. And I remember it was, I'm obviously more of a country music fan than you, but I remember it was like an official revelation that Dwight Yoakam was bald. That he because he always wears a cowboy hat and he has long hair. So you just always picture him having... you never picture him having classic male pattern baldness if he has long hair on the sides and back. So it was very striking. And it was also really cool just knowing that that's how dedicated he was as an actor, that he didn't care if it kind of like maybe clashed with his country music image or whatever. Because I thought he was pitch perfect in that movie. He's
so
a really
good.
talented guy.
It's one of those things, you see it so much where an actor tries to be a musician or a musician tries to be an actor. And there are many times it doesn't gel well. Yeah. But this is one of those few times where, like, man, he knocks it out of the park with whatever he does. Also, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's not on the same level as Sling Blade, but Daddy and Them was a fantastic Billy Bob Thornton movie.
Is that before Sling Blade or after?
No, it's after.
What? Oh, tell me about that one.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I mean, it has a lot more humor to it than... It's basically sort of like a comedy drama, but it's him. It's if I remember correctly, Laura Dern was in it. I don't remember a whole lot as far as the story goes. It probably didn't come out long after The Gift, I would say.
But yeah, it's so strange that Sling Blade was such a phenomenon. And I guess Thornton just never quite recaptured that. Maybe he got sidetracked with acting, and why wouldn't he? I mean, he's a great actor too. Yeah. If you haven't seen Sling Blade in a long time, or if you're a younger person, or you just missed out on it the first time around, you definitely need to track it down. It's so worth a watch, and I wish it had more horror elements so that we could cover it here. Yeah. Maybe someday we'll grandfather it in or something, because it's really worth another look.
Be a good reason. I mean, you don't really need a reason, but I haven't watched it in a long time. Be a good reason to go back and watch it. So authentic, and it probably helped that he got to direct his own material. For sure. Because I feel like with The Gift... that's right. We're reviewing The Gift. Yeah, I know. And I think we're dancing around it a little bit just because, to me, The Gift is a misfire. Really? It doesn't really work for me that much. And I kind of feel like it's Sam Raimi's fault a little bit. I don't know if he didn't know maybe how to rein in some of these top shelf actors, because I mean, he has Cate Blanchett, he has Giovanni Ribisi. Yes. But Michael Jeter even shows up in this, you know what I mean, where it's like all these like really fun character actors, people that were really hot circa 2000, like Greg Kinnear, popping into it. This is a very 2000s movie. It really, really is. I mean, that was the thing I took. There's a few things I took away from this very much. One, it is jarring as fuck to see Keanu Reeves play a villain. Yeah. Like, I feel like I haven't seen him play a villain. I mean, maybe he has. I don't watch every single movie he's in. Yeah. But I feel like I haven't seen him play a villain in a really long time. Maybe this or The Watcher, maybe? And I think that's the same year. So he just had like a shot where I guess he wanted to break from his image a little bit and play, a little rough around the edges. Because he gets rough in this movie, and it is really jarring to see John Wick up there. Let's I just want to talk about the 2000 of it all. Okay. Katie Holmes is in this as a very significant part. Hilary Swank is in this. Obviously J.K. Simmons shows up and becomes a Sam Raimi player from here. Yeah. Because I don't know if he was that established at the time. I didn't remember him being in it. So this must have been kind of like one of his
Yeah, Simple Plan. He's in that as well. And I think he kind of made his name on, oh God, what's that prison show? Oz.
Oh, okay.
On HBO. He was like a really infamous skinhead character.
Oh,
on
really?
Oz. Oh, yeah. He's great in it too. Very intimidating. And just with his, like, he's not even that physically imposing on that show. It's ironic because now he's very physically imposing. He's like jacked now. But at the time, he looked kind of like a standard issue dude. But his voice.
He has a presence about him.
Yeah. He really carried himself very intimidating on that show. Oh, yeah. And Gary Cole shows up as well.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
he's an attorney in this. Here's my first question for you.
Okay.
This is. I'm not going to dwell way too much on the Southern stuff, just because this is steeped in it, so it's kind of redundant.
Right.
But Keanu Reeves, his Southern accent in this film, is it worse than his British accent in Dracula? If you had to stack the two together, I'm going to play a sample of both in the podcast. So just try to imagine in your mind's eye him and Dracula and his ridiculous English accent.
Yeah.
I've seen many strange things already. Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno.
And then him in The Gift, and in my opinion, very ridiculous Southern accent.
You know what this is? It's a voodoo doll. I'm gonna use this voodoo doll on you. Some of your own medicine. If you don't stop seeing my wife, I'm sticking me a pin in this thing every night till you learn to leave folks alone.
Which one is worse?
It's been a while with Dracula, so I guess I would say this, The Gift. Mm-hmm. But honestly, if I'm being truthful here, the most jarring accent that threw me off was Hilary Swank's.
I'm sorry about the other night.
Oh, that's okay. I can take care of myself.
And I hate coming over here, but I really need to talk to you. Maybe you could read for me under a bridge or something.
Like hers goes into like a couple, like sometimes she's not even doing a Southern accent. I don't know what accent she's doing.
I mean, like, this is set in a fictional town in Georgia. I think they call it like Brixton or something like that. And it was shot in Georgia, and it looks so Southern. I mean, like just the setting and the housing, and I mean, it looks so authentic. Mm-hmm. But then they populated it with people not from the South. Yeah. And the director is not Southern. And it just reeks of it to me. Like, all the accents are fucked up, even from people that are Southern or seem to have done Southern accents in the past and do them effectively. I couldn't tell if they were going for melodrama sometimes. I mean, it was so fucking over the top. I was like, did they mean it to be this way? Or was it just, did Raimi just not know how to go, hey, Giovanni, you need to rein it in just a little bit. You're playing special needs and like really, really damaged. Yeah. And you're going to fucking 11 on both angles, and it maybe doesn't jive. Maybe you need to pull them one down to 7 and one down to 5. You know what I mean? Like, no subtlety whatsoever. I mean, to me, anytime he was in it, I was just like, this seems like a Ben Stiller movie. This seems like a parody of a, you know.
On it, I think that's just Giovanni Ribisi. If you look at most of his performances, he usually goes pretty hard, and I personally loved it. I knew watching it, I was like, Craig's gonna have something to say about this. But I talked about it on a recent episode. I love that overacting thing. Yeah. Like I don't know. There's just something about it that when you have those heightened emotions and when it's just delivered like that, I'm like, I eat it up. I love it. So, like, when he just has, like, that moment when he just goes and starts beating the shit out of the windshield of Keanu Reeves' truck, and then he pulls the gun on him, he's just like, shoot me!
Motherfucker! God damn it! Fuck! Motherfucker! Shoot me! Shoot me! Shoot me, you motherfucker! Shoot me! Shoot me!
I'm like, yeah!
Well, I might be a little too hard on this just because of the era it was made, but because I love old movies that have melodrama and overacting by our standards. because I understand that was like a deliberate choice. It's not like a mistake that they made. That was just how they did it back then. And so maybe I'm being a little hard on this.
Well, I think the disconnect, I think there's no disconnect is what it is. It's easy to go watch the melodrama of like 30s, 40s, 50s, but there was a lot of melodrama. This is, like I said, a very 2000s movie. There is a lot of melodrama, but there's no disconnect because you grew up in that era.
Yeah.
So it's easy to be disconnected from the past where you weren't even alive. But it's a lot more difficult to do it with something that's set in 2000, where you were around and you're just like, this feels not real.
Well, it's what I read somewhere that Billy Bob Thornton was offered the role of Buddy originally.
Oh, really?
That there was a moment where they were trying to lure him in to play that part, and he maybe wisely sidestepped it. And it's kind of tough to know. Like I read somewhere also that Billy Bob Thornton loosely based Kate Blanchett's character on his own mother, that his own mother claimed to have some psychic abilities and everything. And so it's kind of hard to know, like, was this like work for hire style? Did he and his writing partner just kind of get together and go, let's crank one out. Like, let's do like a cool screenplay, get some money to go do another project or whatever. Or if it was like a very heartfelt, tribute to his mother. It's kind of hard to know because someone else transmuted it and directed it with Sam Raimi. Hey, we're like over 20 minutes into the podcast. Why don't you give us a synopsis?
We are, basically this is about Annie.
Yes, Annie Wilson.
Annie Wilson, a psychic who is brought into, I guess, the fold of a recent murder and trying to find out what happened.
Fair. And she works as a psychic. I mean, people come to her home and she gives readings. It's implied to be the only way she makes her living.
And some Social Security.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And she is a widow, which is of note. And she has 3, young sons. And the eldest one is having a lot of problems just because, he misses his dad and he feels like she never acknowledges the death of his father. And this is like one of those big cast, a lot of moving parts type of scenario. It's a murder mystery with a psychic at the center of it. And, the police are trying to get her to help in this disappearance of a young person who's Katie Holmes. And because she's psychic, I think they think it's going to be like the Dead Zone where she can just like summon, know what I mean, get a scent of it and kind of help them figure out where she's at or whatever. But she keeps trying to explain to them that that's not really how it works. It's kind of like not her choice. It just kind of happens. And I guess the only horror element of this are some of the visions that she has of the Katie Holmes character, kind of revealing that she has been murdered or something nefarious happened to her. She's, in the swamp, I guess, or the lake. I don't really know what to call it, where her body was disposed. By the way, did you catch the cameo in one of the visions? There was a fiddler in one of her visions.
I noticed the fiddler, but I didn't notice anything.
Yeah, she has a vision early on of Katie Holmes, and she, in the swamp and all this stuff, and there's like a fiddler kind of playing menacing, fiddle music. It's Danny Elfman.
Really?
He didn't do the music for this movie either. It's just kind of like a weird, I guess he had a relationship with Raimi, and they just kind of brought him in for some oddball cameo.
Did you play a fiddler?
Yeah, okay. I mean, and it's like 3 seconds of footage. I mean, it's really, I don't know if in the original version he had a larger part, maybe, but maybe he just thought it'd be fun to hang out on the set. So
yeah.
And this thing has everything, because it has like all this drama with Keanu Reeves being this like ball buster, suspect in the disappearance of this young lady. Everyone has a hunch that he had something to do with it. And, we have all these psychic visions. We have a courtroom drama at one point, and it's kind of a family drama weaved into it.
It's a lot of elements into one. It's kind of a kitchen sink package.
It really is.
That might be what hurts it in some ways. While I personally really did like this movie, I feel like its flaws come from because it was trying to do way too much at once. They could have kind of honed in and focused on, maybe just one or two of those elements and left it at that. Especially the courtroom drama stuff. I don't know if we really needed that in this movie. Wasn't really necessary. I mean,
to me, it's a red herring that obviously they had the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't go through the motions of a courtroom situation. You know what I mean? And to me, that's why I felt like the mystery was a little weak. And that was kind of spinning its wheels a little bit to introduce more elements and kind of make it a little more complicated than it needed to be, sort of. I appreciate what they were trying to do, you know what I mean? And I didn't hate this movie by any stretch, but I was kind of shocked how little I liked it, revisiting it. I kind of thought...
Did you like it a lot more the first time you watched it, or were you kind of just
I guess I was kind of take it or leave it when I saw it. Like, I didn't hate it, but I don't remember anything about it. When I watched it recently, I know I saw it in the theater, because that was an era where I saw everything in the theater pretty much. Watching it now, virtually none of it, except for some of the Giovanni Ribisi stuff, I kind of remembered it a little bit because it's so over the top.
You can't not remember it.
I mean...
Whatever happened to Giovanni Ribisi? I guess he still acts, but I haven't seen him in anything in a long time.
He had a show called Sneaky Pete.
That's right.
That was on pretty recently. I think it only recently wrapped, and it got pretty good reviews and stuff. So he's still kind of kicking around.
I've always really liked him as an actor. Mm-hmm. But I do remember that show. I never sat down and watched it, but I do remember that show.
Well, he had a lane, I feel like, in the late 90s, early aughts, where he played a lot of special needs people. Like he played
had that one with him and
Juliette Lewis.
Yeah.
I forgot
that's
the name of it.
Like The Other Sister or something like that.
Mom, is this a sex talk?
Yes, is that okay?
Carla Tate has a handicap to overcome. Her mother.
You remember no, stop, and don't forget your pepper spray.
But now it's time.
Do you want to be my girlfriend?
To follow her own heart.
Are you getting a pepper spray?
Juliette Lewis, Diane Keaton, and Giovanni Ribisi.
I wonder who thought up sex in the first place.
I think it was Madonna.
The Other Sister. Rated PG-13. Sneak preview.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but I bet that movie did not age well.
I mean, it's got to be one that they quietly hope everyone forgets, especially in this day and age. Yeah. And he played kind of a similar part on Friends, where he was kind of a doofus brother.
Kudrow's brother.
Yeah, and he played very just absent-minded and silly, and that seemed to be a thing he was doing for a while there. But he kind of...
He's also in the Mod Squad.
Of course.
Yeah.
With
Claire Danes and Omar Epps.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the movie.
Don't either.
I just remember watching it, but I don't remember anything about it.
But he kind of broke out of it. I mean, I feel like Avatar gave him a chance to be more of a corporate...
Fuck, I forgot he was in Avatar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's already been over 10 years. It's quietly been a long time.
I feel like
already.
I just finished watching it. That movie's so goddamn long.
But he got to play, like a Paul Reiser-esque, from Aliens, kind of corporate douchebag type character. So that was kind of good. I'm sure
I
for
feel
him
like
to break out of it.
He's reined it in some, but
yeah.
He was really going, like I said, I love it personally, but he was really going hard like he was never going to be able to act again.
I mean, every line I just felt like was delivered with this kind of, it felt like a high school play to me or something. Mm-hmm. It felt like just someone overacting and you can't stop them on stage. like I feel like in film, that's like the benefit is that a director can go, okay, let's try this again. Maybe just go a little softer, like maybe turn it down just a little bit. Because also he's going so extreme that I feel like even in the scenes where he's swinging for the fences, it doesn't have the same effect because he's always doing it. Yeah. Like you've already seen him freak out. Like there's a very pivotal scene where there's a revelation of why he's so damaged. And, maybe Cate Blanchett should have been doing a little bit more to help him, through this issue with her psychic abilities and everything. And there's a big revelation, and he is so unhinged in it, and rightfully so. I mean, like in real life, that would be unhinged moments. But it's so over the top and so extreme, and it's always at 11 the whole time. I mean, from the moment you see him in that scene to the moment it punches out, he is at a fucking 11 the entire time. That to me it almost becomes comical. Like 30 seconds in, I'm like, this is so over the top and ridiculous that like I can't help but think of the real people making a movie in that moment, and just like everyone on the set just going like, man, like. But
you're talking about Raimi though.
Yeah.
Like he's over the top. I mean, look how bombastic the Evil Dead movies are, Quick and the Dead, the Spider-Man movies.
This is fair.
I feel like he was like, hey, you got it at 11. I need it at 12. Bring it up some.
I mean, and it works for some people. I mean, because
this guy.
Well, I mean, I think I briefly looked at reviews of the era, and it was mixed. It was a mixed bag. But like prominent critics like Ebert, Roger Ebert enjoyed it, gave it a pretty strong rating. I think Variety gave it a pretty strong review. I feel like it's more contemporary audiences that maybe look back on it and are a little.
I think that's the biggest flaw of this movie is that it's not evergreen. You clearly see the time it was filmed in its bones, and it hurts it.
Well, and I think it was Scorsese that said, a filmmaker is making a movie for the audience when it drops, period.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like he's acknowledged that a bunch of times, and he claims he's never worried about what we're talking about. But there is something in the alchemy of a movie that can be shown to someone that's 19 years old now, and they still can get into it. Like a Goodfellas, for instance. I feel like a modern young person could watch that and totally understand why it was a big deal when it got released. Whereas, there's other movies like Crash. I think, the really Oscar baity Crash from 2005 or 2004. You show that to a young person now, and they'll just be like, why did everyone love this movie? This movie is garbage. I mean, I don't mean to be too mean, but that movie's rough.
I feel like that's one that hasn't aged well.
No. If you watch that,
people kind of shit on it now.
If you watch that with modern sensibilities, it is outrageous that it was so well received.
Yeah.
Like I get that people may have liked the movie, but just that it became like an Oscar-winning big deal of a movie or whatever. It was huge. Yeah. I mean, if you're old enough to remember that movie, it was just
I've never seen it, but I know so much about that just because of it was everywhere. Yeah, you couldn't escape it.
If you watch it now, I think you would be shocked. I mean, just the messaging of the movie, how heavy-handed it is, and how badly acted it is. No fault of the actors. I feel like the material is so just heavy-handed and so heavily messaged, and so from one point of view, when it's supposed to be like this really multicultural, like, ooh, there's all these different types of people in this movie, but it's like so over the top, blatantly written by one POV.
Yeah. So if you're gonna watch a movie called Crash, go to Cronenberg's.
Yeah, there you go, baby. I think there's another Crash that's like that was in Dr. Gangreen's recent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Wheels of Death.
Yeah,
there was one called Crash as well. So there's 3 to choose from. Don't pick the one.
Choose wisely.
From 2004.
No, I think overall I did like it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. There was a point where it was really uncomfortably tense for me with the whole Keanu Reeves of it all. Because like I said, it was jarring. And there's a point where he's like literally dragging Hilary Swank by her hair and everything. And it's like, that was where I felt the real danger was in the movie. And it was pretty tense, even with the kind of melodrama of it all.
I noticed too that I think Raimi was shooting him in a way to make him look bigger than he really is too.
I feel like
there was like kind of like definitely it. I don't know, like shooting up at him a lot just to kind of make him seem a little more intimidating than he really is. Although he played it pretty well, accent aside.
I will say there was a point of something that I didn't care for. For this to be from such an established horror director, the jump scares felt like someone this was their first horror movie.
Very telegraphed, yeah.
Very much so, and the sound, my God, they really overcompensated with the sound effects of that. Throughout the rest of the movie, I thought the sound design was really good. It helped ratchet up that tension. Like there's a point where they're dragging the lake for Katie Holmes's, I forget her character's name, dragging the lake to try to find her body. And there's this point where they've got something hooked and they're like pulling it up. And there's all this tension of like as it's dragging across the boat, like the metal scraping. It just reminds me of stuff like Evil Dead. He really always has really good sound design, and it builds up a lot of tension. But in those moments where there's a jump scare or some type of like punch out of any type of thing that's supposed to be scary, it just explodes with noise and like these flash kind of cuts and everything. And it's like, I don't know what Raimi was going for in that. But you made fucking Evil Dead 2. You better get your shit together. What do you think about, because, you know, you mentioned Ribisi, the scene where everything kind of comes to a head. Yeah. After that scene, he's like super calm for the rest of the movie in any scene he's in.
He's like angelic he's like a guardian angel from there on out almost. I mean, I guess you could argue that the character, even though it was very severe, he had, you know, it was cathartic for him to extract revenge on the person that, spoiler, Buddy, his character, was sexually abused as a very young boy by his father. And that's something that he is either repressed or just doesn't know how to articulate to Cate Blanchett. Like, he's kind of using her almost as like a psychologist more than a psychic. You know, he needs someone to talk to about this and doesn't know how to communicate it. He just decides to straight up deal with it himself, and that gives him, I guess, peace of mind. So after that, he becomes a much different character, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, he's not in many scenes after that, but he's like super calm for any other scene he's in.
Well, we won't get into it too much, just in case someone wants to watch this.
Yeah, because I feel like this movie's kind of, nobody talks about it anymore. I don't know how familiar people are with it.
But without a blatant spoiler, this is a murder mystery. So there's some twists and turns. There is a punch-out moment that I think some people really love and, you know, find it interesting. I thought it was maybe a little much, but that kind of helps make it, you know, more spooky and mystical and you know, kind of magic infused into the story.
Now, we don't have to get into who specifically it was, but were you surprised at all? Did you know who it was?
The murderer?
Yeah.
Or
no, the murderer.
No, I had no idea. Watching it again, I still didn't remember.
Really?
I was kind of like, I don't know. Yeah.
Were you surprised about it at all, or?
I wouldn't say that, just because there's only so many people that could have done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it kind of got to the point where, I mean, unless they did like a red herring and it was like someone you hadn't even been introduced to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they introduced in the last second or something. So no. But although that was well cast, I do believe, because the person that ends up being the murderer, this is going to be obvious if you paid attention, is kind of milquetoast. So it's not someone you would suspect classically of doing it. But, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's why he was cast specifically.
Oh, spoiler.
Let's rate this.
Okay. I will give this a B-.
B-? Where would you put it in the catalog of Sam Raimi? Would you put it kind of towards the top, the middle, bottom?
Ooh, shit. That's rough.
From the hip. Don't even think about it. Just tell me.
Put it in
right now.
Put it in the middle. Because honestly, I'm sitting here thinking about it. Like, he's got so much that I really love, but then there's stuff like Oz the Great and Powerful and stuff like that I'm just, I mean, it's just not for me. So, but I did really enjoy this. I wouldn't put it on the level of Evil Dead 2 or anything, but, you know, maybe for love of the game or something. I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I would almost put it kind of in the middle of his mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
Almost. Like, it's better than For Love of the Game, maybe. but to me, not as fun as Quick and the Dead, and not nearly as good as A Simple Plan. I mean, I think A Simple Plan is just masterful filmmaking, just all around the script and direction and acting. It's just tour de fart. I'm going to give this... Man, I'm thinking of those accents.
They became like kind of white noise to me after. It was very jarring at first.
I mean...
But after a little while into the movie, you get so many fine actors up there. Cate Blanchett is awesome. I feel like it just kind of became normal to me. I almost didn't notice it anymore.
I'm just biased, obviously, but like I remember very distinctly when I lived in New York, I was in a writing workshop, and I would write stuff based in the South, and everyone around me was from other places. Like no one was from, out South or whatever, down South. And anytime I wrote something set in the South, the feedback would be, it just doesn't feel Southern enough. Like I want to taste the grits. I want the hot sauce. They would say shit like that, and I would just be like, you guys want this to be like a parody of the South, and I feel like that's what happened here. It's kind of like Sam Raimi and maybe some of the other people that weren't Southern kind of went, let's like really make this Southern. Let's like really make this Southern. So like,
can you fuck your sister?
Yeah, like can you like listen? Right now you sound like someone from Hee Haw. I want you to sound literally like Foghorn Leghorn. Can you just, but times 10?
I say you crank that shit up a couple notches.
I mean, I feel like Cate Blanchett is about the only person. I mean, there's some people that didn't do a crazy bad accent, but the ones that do are just like,
it's pretty
I just couldn't believe it. I mean, Hilary Swank being another great.
When she was doing a Southern accent,
right.
She slipped into something else entirely sometimes.
That's what I'm saying is like there was no one, it felt like no one was there to authenticate it at all, to kind of go, oh, what's, are you supposed to be from here? Or, anyway, no biggie, except for me. I'm going to give this C-.
Would you recommend it?
No.
Really?
I think this is totally skippable. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean... Of the Sam Raimi catalog and Billy Bob Thornton catalog, I mean, I just think there's so many things you would hit before you'd get to this.
I'd go Simple Plan and Sling Blade before this, but I would be down to recommend this.
No. No.
No,
there's too much stuff out there, man. There's too much stuff.
That's fair.
We watched it, so you don't have to. No. Adam says check it out. I say you can skip it. That was The Gift.
Yes. And that was what? A C, I guess?
Overall, you gave it just a regular B?
B-. B-?
Yeah, it'd be like roughly a C.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was The Gift.
Average.
It's time to check in to Dr. Gangreen's Sanitarium, where all movies are mad.
This is Dr. Gangreen, Nashville horror host, and you're listening to the Holler Kings.
On every episode of the Holler Kings, we do a segment called Holler at Your Boys.
Holler at your boys, y'all.
This is Open Topic, where we just share something with our audience that we are excited about or just want to chat about. Adam, do you remember what we're speaking of today?
Yes, I do. I recall, sir. We are talking... Oh, sorry. Wait.
Tell us.
Okay. I thought we could just have a little discussion. Actually, you thought we could. This is going well. About
you brought it to my attention.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I sent you a little screenshot of it, and you said we should talk about it on the podcast. Glad we put y'all through that behind the scenes right there. Mm-hmm. But we could talk about the development that there's going to be a Friday the 13th TV series called Crystal Lake.
Yes, tell us about it. Fill us in on the deets.
That's it. No, it's Brian Fuller, who American Gods... Hannibal. is supposed to be doing it. I guess I forget what. It's going to be a streaming TV series.
And it'll be a prequel, correct?
A prequel, yeah.
That's the idea.
So
it's hard to know what the plan is past that. I think it's kind of under wraps. I don't know if it'll be kind of like Bates Motel, where
that's what I was thinking.
It's contemporary, but still taking place before the events of the movies.
Right.
Because Bates Motel, when I heard about that, I was like, oh, this is going to be set in like the 50s, and it's going to take place before Psycho, but it was literally, of its era. It was like the late aughts, whenever it was.
That's when it actually takes place?
Yeah. They just kind of take the basic premise and set it in modern times.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. I was like, will Crystal Lake be set in, the 2020s, but just story-wise take place before the events of the movie? Plus that gives them wiggle room to do whatever they want with the basic premise versus having to stringently make it a prequel,
Mm-hmm. Man, I don't know how I feel about this. Friday the 13th just doesn't seem like the medium, like a TV series is the medium for it. But then again, like you said, it's a prequel. I have no idea what he's going to do within what direction he's going to take it in.
From what I understand, because the legal rights to Friday the 13th have been all over the damn place for years, and that's why we haven't seen a new movie.
The film rights.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how they're circumventing it, is basically, they can almost do whatever they want on television, apparently, to include having Jason Voorhees in it in some capacity. Spoilers, if you've never seen any of the Friday the 13th films, if you're a young person and you've never gotten around to the first Friday the 13th, please check it out. It's kind of like in the DNA of all horror going forward. So, but obviously Pamela Voorhees is the main, thrust of the original Friday the 13th. So I can only assume she'd be the main character or one of the main characters in a prequel series.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are they going to handle that? Is she going to be like a Dexter type character that's doing all this nefarious stuff, but living a double life as a mother of, a young Jason,
right?
Trying to make things work as a camp cook, or is she going to be totally normal until something happens to Jason, and then we're going to see how that kind of plays out originally? I don't know how they're going to do a whole series based on this.
Yeah, I don't either. And I was reading something. I don't know how much of it was him just being just joking about it. It's hard to tell, in a text. But he was talking about they will probably more than likely do at least 2 seasons. But he's got a plan, and he's got a plan for 3 seasons already planned out. But he has ideas going up all the way to 10 seasons. And if they get to 10, he's going to take Jason in space. So
that's what, there's a piece of me that just thinks they're going to kind of remake the movies. Like season to season is basically like a new take on one of the movies or concepts from the movies, and they're going to make it their own, that it won't be a true prequel, that it'll be kind of like Friday the 13th, the series, period. You know what I mean? Like, the first season will deal with Pamela becoming unhinged, and the first row of murders, and then maybe the second season will be the camp reopening and her dealing with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sort of like that. That's kind of how they would
always.
run it.
I guess like the first season could be start out in like 58 when she kills like the first campers after Jason has drowned, and then season 2 could be set to when it's opening back up.
I would like to see it be a period piece, and the film, the series, as it progresses, kind of jumps forward to say the 70s, 80s, beyond, or whatever. That would be a lot of fun if it's successful. And since we're not getting new films anytime soon,
I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, it seems like a nice salve. I did this last time. Salve to kind of tide you over, and
for sure. I mean, I'd say overall, I'm reluctant but excited about it.
What would you do with the Friday the 13th series if Paramount or whoever, or New Line, I guess, owns it now, sort of, if they came to you and they're like, listen, you're one of the Holler Kings, we need you to shepherd Friday the 13th. Here's a blank check. What are you going to do?
Run to the Cayman Islands with that check. No. Man, I think, honestly, like you said, I want to take it back to the basics of that series. I mean, I guess I don't want it to be in tone like Sleepaway Camp or The Burning, but just in that vibe of having like a full-on like actual camp and throwing Jason in the middle of it.
Would it be a sequel to Jason Goes to Hell, or would you just kind of reboot it?
I don't think we need a sequel to Jason Goes to Hell.
That's what I'm saying. Like, continuity-wise, how would you want to do it?
That's the tough thing. I guess I would treat it more almost like a reboot. I think that'd be with the TV series. If it was a movie, it'd be different. But I think with the TV series, the best way to do it would just be kind of take it in its own direction.
Well,
and bring Derek Mears back. He was fucking great as Jason.
He had some great physicality for the character too.
As much as I love Kane Hodder, but Derek Mears was fucking amazing.
Yeah, I like. Oh, this is a whole nother can of worms.
We don't have to get into all that.
Yeah, let's sidestep that. What if? But I'm saying they come to you, and just you as a fan. If you could do anything you wanted to with the Friday the 13th franchise, what would you do? Like, you don't have to make it a TV show unless you want to. Would that be your first choice?
No, I go movie first.
So how would you do a movie? Because I know you're like...
I was just saying Derek Mears, I would do the sequel to the remake.
Really?
Because I thought the remake was... a lot of people shit on it, but I thought the remake was great and gave us everything we want out of a Friday the 13th movie.
I wonder if they would have... You might know this, but...
You got beers, boobs, and blood. Like, how can you go wrong?
Well, the first one, or the remake, it kind of is a combination of the first three movies in a lot of ways.
You'd go even 4. Because it even has the brother coming to find his sister and everything.
So would you pick it up like it's part 6 kind of? Like would you sort of an alchemy of...
I think I would kind of go in that tone with it, especially with part 6 being like horror comedy. I think I would definitely like infuse like a lot more humor into it. Never making, it's like the Abbott and Costello thing meets whatever. You don't make the monster comical, but the characters around it kind of humorous and everything. And I think I would take it from there and just go in that type of direction. I don't know with the first. I would like to do. Man, you just look. I don't even know if you could do it with the first one. I wouldn't want to do it, but eventually you would want to take it and do like. But I don't even know if you could do Jason Takes Manhattan, but actually have him take Manhattan.
Right.
I don't think you could do it. It doesn't have the same grime and stuff that it did in the 80s. So I don't even know if that would work nowadays.
You could make it Los Angeles. Yeah. Because Los Angeles has kind of gotten to that side of the spectrum now. So you could kind of be the same premise, but a new city, type of area. Detroit has become like a really destination city for horror now. That could be interesting too. I guess just figuring out the logistics of getting Jason to these places.
They didn't care what Jason Takes Manhattan.
I mean, Los Angeles, it would almost have to be Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein style, where he gets his body shipped somehow to Los Angeles.
They took him to space. We can take him to L.A.
I like your ideas. I think a studio would agree with you. I would want to do a Tommy Jarvis direct sequel. Like
which version?
I would recast probably.
But even still, the tone of... So would you want to set it at the time of he's a kid? Or would you... Or in which... Because you look at part... Like the Tom Matthews version. I forget the dude in part 5. There are very different tones to that character.
I mean, that's fair. I would try to keep all the events of 4, 5, and 6 as, what do you call them, canon?
Yeah.
And transmute that to a new actor and kind of make him a combination of all those things a little bit.
Yeah.
Where maybe he recovered enough where in part 6, he's a little bit more grounded or whatever. So we can kind of show that he's a little damaged, but is still capable enough to maybe when he hears of the camp reopening, he just decides, I'm going to go hang out just to make sure that everything's kosher, that, he's not around and that this can open safely, that type of thing. And it's almost like so much time has passed since any events, since Jason has done anything, people have kind of forgotten, and he has to be kind of like old man Jarvis a little bit.
Right.
Even though he's not that old, I think he would only be like pushing 50 type of situation, if I'm doing my math correctly. So he would still be young-ish. I mean,
right.
And you could get like a cool actor. I was thinking like, he's a little bit older, like a Stephen Lang type guy.
That's exactly who I had in my head.
You know what I mean? Like someone that's kind of, you can tell he's a little damaged but capable. Not like damaged, like, oh, I'm scared of everything.
I mean, you look at his performance in Don't Breathe.
Right.
He's menacing.
So I'm saying like and that's the thing is you take part 5, the alchemy of that a little bit, where people are almost like, this guy, I don't know, he should be snooping around here. Like they call the cops on him. You know what I mean? Like he's almost a suspect.
Right.
As much as he is someone that's trying to figure out if Jason's still around. And we can kind of play with that idea a little bit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's like maybe a little too high concept. What you're talking about, I think would be a home run where it's just kind of like a fun Jason movie. Mine might be a little bit in the Halloween 2018 mold of maybe it works, maybe it kind of loses some people,
I think, as long as you have Jason in there, I think you're good.
Yeah.
And I think that is, of all the characters to focus on that's not Jason, that's Tommy Jarvis is the one to focus on.
Yeah.
I think it would work. I think it would be great.
And if you want to
even the fucking, what is it? What are those called? Fan films. That fan film brings him back and stuff.
Well, that's what, if you want to get deep cuts too, you could bring back the psychic from part 7, kind of the Carrie-esque hero or whatever of that movie.
Which they did in another fan film.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
That shows you that fans want that. Mm-hmm. Like the people that grew up with these movies and discover them later, that would be just, catnip for those people. And if you do it right, you wouldn't have to know those things. Like you could kind of fill in an unexperienced person on those things a little bit.
We could just start bringing like Jenny, Amy Steele back and have her in it. And you could just do like a whole Dream Warriors thing.
Sure, why not?
Hell yeah.
Why not? If you're gonna reboot it or soft reboot it, that style, you might as well just swing for it, and while all these people are still active and all these things are still in our memories, if they do it in the next, say, 5 to 10 years, I think they could pull it off.
So
but if they wait too much longer,
you said you bring back like I forget the Carrie character. I forget her name in the movie.
I did too.
Off the top of my head, would you you're talking about just like recasting all those people and stuff? And
if they're still active and willing,
they were both in those fan films.
I think it's totally workable, especially if it's like a true soft reboot where you really want that DNA and everything. But if it's like studio interference style where they want big names, I think you could recast because enough time has passed. And
like you said, Stephen Lang would be really good.
Yeah, and multiple people played Tommy Jarvis, so he's a little less precious, I feel like, than the heroine of Part 7. But you could get, age 50-ish, think of, now I'm like really swinging for the fences. Think of like
we were just Cate Blanchett.
Boom. Yeah, well, yeah, that would be like dream casting.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Might as well.
Well, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That would actually work. She's probably a hair young, but, maybe she, it can work. Why not? I was thinking of who's the lady from? She's actually top tier as well, from The Sixth Sense and Hereditary.
Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking her because she could do like the intensity and then the vulnerability, the two sides of that character, especially as they aged or whatever.
She would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like she'd be down too to be as like such a prestigious actor as she is. Most people shy away from horror, but she seems to be like really respected and enjoy it.
Tell us in those comments, what would you do with the Friday the 13th franchise?
Who would your Tommy Jarvis be?
Yeah. Stephen Lang, I like that guy, and I would still go for it.
He's got a new movie out.
Really?
Yeah, called Old Man, him, and I don't know, who Mark Center is?
Off the top of my head.
I think that's how you pronounce it. He was in did you ever watch the movie The Lost from like 2007?
Mm-mm.
Oh, It's a heavy movie, man.
Really?
But it's really good. But in it, he plays the main sort of baddie in that. Chris Siverson did it, who also did I Know Who Killed Me. And he actually just had a movie recently come out with Christina Ricci, Monstrous or something like that. I think it's on Showtime. But anyways, it's a new movie with those two in it. Directed, I think written and directed, maybe just directed by Lucky McKee. So
nice.
It just I think it either just came out or is just about to come out. So
very cool. Well,
but anyways, you were saying something about Stephen?
Oh, I was just gonna say he's a tad too old probably to play Tommy Jarvis.
Maybe,
but he's cool enough to where it wouldn't really matter. I was trying to think of like someone that's 50-ish, maybe a hair older, younger. That would be good.
I'm always bad with ages, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody that's kind of got that grizzled, kind of thing to him.
You know who would be cool? It's not quite what I was going for because I kind of pictured a more jacked. Like someone that's like, but Ethan Hawke would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like kind of like.
And he probably would fit that age just perfect.
Yeah.
You are right. He's not as kind of have that physical presence as someone like a Stephen Lang, but I think I thought he was pretty creepy in The Black Phone. So
he has that edge, and he has the vulnerability, but the menacing quality that you can play.
He could bring like an intensity to to Tommy Jarvis.
Oh, see, I'm kind of, and he would kind of fit the mold of the Corey Feldman version slightly better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a guy, he would kind of fit all of them a little bit better, maybe than like a jacked.
Corey Feldman is listening to this going, guys, I fit the mold.
I've heard that he is interested in doing that.
Really?
A belated sequel.
Huh.
I don't like it just because I just feel like he's too identifiable, I think, to like blend into a role now. You know what I mean? Sort of.
Yeah.
It would have to be something kind of, I don't know, like I get that he played him as a child and stuff, but
I mean, that's a long time from when he did that movie.
Yeah.
Like, how disconnected would he be from it,
I don't
know.
I'm up for recasting it, and I'm going with Ethan Hawke. I think he's the man. He's the man to go for it.
Ethan will be getting in touch with your people.
The new Tommy Jarvis. I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to do it.
He's excited.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Please leave us a like. And comment.
And subscribe.
Oh, yes. And tell your friends and lovers.
Yes. Make them listen. Don't ask them to listen. Make them.
Adam, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, our listeners, for listening /watching.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
Oh.